we have hit the midway point of the James Harden, Russell Westbrook reunion experiment in Houston. Some good, some not so good. They're fourth in the West right now. They're half a game out of the second seed. James Harden is having another mind-blowing statistical season.
Oh, here you go. You can't even be impartial when talking about him. Like, there's
is
no
37 a game not mind-blowing in this?
Is it?
It's not.
What do you have last year? Are your mind still blown?
35.
All right, I guess it is mind-blowing.
Last guy to average 37 a game.
I don't know.
Michael Jordan.
All
right. But Raja, so here we go.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't be impartial, but clearly either can you.
I cannot.
When it comes to the Rocket conversation, we talked about this after the Thunder game.
Mm-hmm.
They got beat. You hate the Rockets.
I don't hate the Rockets. No. You're looking for a headline. You're looking for a headline now. You just want something branded up there. Raja hates the Rockets.
I know. You want Mike D. You want your guy Mike to succeed, but there was some stuff that bugged you watching that game.
I love Mike. I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. I love what James Harden does in terms of reinventing like his offensive like brand every year to some degree to kind of counter what people are doing or take advantage of some loophole in the NBA rule book. Like, I think it's brilliant. And I think he's one of the most gifted scorers I've ever seen. I just hate watching them play. I do. I don't like the style of play. Like, and this isn't to say that it's like the wrong thing to do or you shouldn't play basketball like that. Like, you could, I'm sure there's stats that back it all up. I'm cool with that. I'm just saying personally, when I turn on the TV and I watch a game, I don't love watching just straight 17 dribbles for 18 seconds and then I'm going to shoot a double step back. I don't love that. Like, it doesn't really do it for me. And so, that's what I was left with feeling after that game. Like, man, I know it's produced. It hasn't really won one yet, but there are a lot of things that go into winning a championship. Like, Mike's teams know that better than anybody's teams. Like, there's a little luck involved. There's some injuries involved. There's a lot of stuff that factors into that. But just purely for aesthetics, like, and you call me an old curmudgeon or whatever you want to do, but I'm not that guy because I'm not like mired in having to run floppy and then drop it into the post or running.
You're not
drop.
typically
like,
telling the Rockets to get off your line.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't love watching those games when they are as ISO heavy. They're running pick and roll to get into another ISO.
Yeah. Well, that's like, no, because the funny thing is that when we had that conversation, I'm like, they run pick and roll. So I looked it up. 20% of their plays this year, scoring plays, are isolations. The next closest team in the league is the Blazers at 9%.
It's ridiculous. And they got two ISO-heavy players.
Oh, no, and Harden and Russ are leading the league in ISO plays.
But even Dame and CJ, in their own right, are heavy ISO guys. Sure. If you've doubled them up, that's a lot of ISO.
Now, the other part of the conversation that we had with – and look, I'm not necessarily disagreeing that it can get grading, but – I am a little biased that I love when I watch sports in general. I like seeing just like historic greatness, and what Harden is doing, whether you like it or not, is historic.
Yes.
Over the last couple of years. So yes. It is fun seeing him do things that I think one thing we probably need to come off of is comparing guys to Wilt Chamberlain, because I see it in the MVP conversations. Like, Giannis is the first guy since Wilt to do this, and Harden's the first guy since Wilt to do that. No offense to Wilt and any of that stuff, but I think it's jumped the shark. There were 9 teams in the league. He was the biggest and most athletic and all that. But he's also doing this for the first time since a guy like Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in the conversation. And we also talk about this. You got to score to win.
Yeah.
Right? It is an important stat. We talk about all the other stats. You have to score to win. And the best teams, the top championship teams, generally have a guy who can go get you 40 on any night.
Yeah.
So, but what I want to know from the conversation was, do you think the way they're playing right now they can win?
No, I think they can win a lot of games. I don't think they can win a championship like that. I don't. And that could go, broader picture, it could be the roster around James. But I would then ask you, have you had to create that roster because of who James is as a player? I don't have the answer. I didn't sit in the meetings when you were doing that. But you could make a case that you've had to build that roster out like that because of what he is going to inevitably do with the ball. Right. You understand what I'm saying? And Like, I just want to, a couple years ago when I watched them play, I was like, man, all right, a little less like offense than I'd like to see, but a lot of pick and roll that winds up getting a lot of people shots, like Capella on a rim run.
Yeah, also had CP.
You had CP, but even when the rim run was taken away, that ball moved and you got a lot of other people, good looks at the basket. So I was like, I can live with just watching like your offense devolve into pick and roll. Now, it hurt my feelings because Mike is a really good offensive guy. Even in a fast-paced, like 7 seconds or less stuff that we used to run, we ran a lot of good stuff. A lot of it was pick and roll, but there was other stuff that wasn't pick and roll. They'd run stuff, for me and the other guys that weren't blessed with one-on-one ability, quick little hitters to get you jump shots. And, there was a lot of good actions. Big-to-big pick and roll to the rim from Boris to Amari or Sean, really quick hitting things that they don't even do anymore. But I was like, fine, I can live with the high pick and roll. Here's the deal. Like, their pick and roll, they only run pick and roll on scoring plays 10.8% of the time. Like, it's the lowest in the NBA, Joe. They're not even running pick and roll anymore. This is just ISO basketball. And I would say to you that no, like at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, is he brilliant enough offensively? Is Westbrook good enough offensively to beat a lot of teams? Yes. Is it going to win a championship? No.
So I'm glad you brought up the roster thing because I think that is an interesting part of this. Now, statistically speaking, their offense is just as good as it was 2 years ago. Like scoring-wise, offensive rating and all that. Defensively, they're worse. There's a few things that could go into that. One being Jeff Bzdelik is not there anymore, and he was sort of the architect.
Right.
But I want to do this. Can we throw up their current roster? Can we throw up the Rockets' current roster for this season? So you look at this is what they're playing with this year. So after the guys that Harden, Russ, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, Clint.
Yep. And you go to Austin Rivers, and that's about
Daniel House.
Yeah.
Now, can we throw up the roster from 17-18 when they were a game away from the finals?
Yeah.
There's a difference there.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference there.
And I think roster construction is going to be what holds them back more than anything.
Well, look, we talked at the time when you let Trevor Ariza walk and you couldn't figure out a way to hold on to Luke and Bob Mute. I'm not in your finances there, so I'm not. But when that happened, you were going to lose a big part of what your identity was on the defensive end of the court. Like that was you couldn't stop that from happening. Here's my question, and I don't have the answer to it. But I played with a lot of guys on 76ers teams that did a lot of standing and watching. Now, I didn't play a lot when I was with the Sixers, save for that little snippet of time, like in the few playoff games and stuff like that. It wasn't like I didn't really have an opinion on it because I wasn't out there all the time with the standing and waiting. And our offense was similar to Houston's offense, but I would make the argument that more people touched it in the Sixers offense because Allen didn't bring it up the court every time. Like, you'd run him off with some action, you'd bring him off the horns, and then he'd go into his ISO, and everybody else is kind of standing around watching.
Right.
But I know for a fact there were guys on those teams that didn't love just standing and watching, right? And so I don't know. I've not asked anyone in Houston, so this isn't any kind of hot take. But I ask myself sometimes, I wonder how many of them are actually, like, really in love with what their job description is offensively in Houston. And I think it's a fair question because I've got experience, like, being on the bench with vets that were like, man, this is some bullshit. I don't really love just standing here and then getting the ball. Like, could be a completely different time. I'm not saying one way or the other. I just ask myself the question sometimes.
Yeah, I mean.
So when you're talking about roster construction, are people lining up to go there? Like when you're a
I don't know.
good player.
Well, I mean,
when you're a good player and you want the ball in your hands a little bit, are you looking at Houston and saying, yeah, I'm signing up for that?
Well, you guys have my hypothetical roster. I put together a hypothetical roster with with one trade and available free agents.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get that pulled up.
Yeah.
So you go and get Iggy.
Yep.
And then you go get J.R. Shump and Jamal Crawford. I think they would play there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? They're just looking for a chance and they want to play for a good team. Is that team going further than the current team? With the style of play?
Probably. You've gotten better defensively. You got Shump. You got Andre Iguodala. Iggy's used to kind of playing off the ball. He can also facilitate a little bit. Crawford gives you. Do you think that Jamal Crawford is a better sixth man right now than Eric Gordon?
Is Eric Gordon not on that list?
No, Eric Gordon's not on the list.
Eric Gordon should be on that list.
Okay.
But no, he's not. But he fits what they do.
No, he does. He does. You're talking about a guy, you give him the ball, and you don't even have to bring a screen up for him. You just let him. You just let him cook. But or you can bring a screen. That's the thing. That roster, and it was the same thing with Philly. And like, I'm glad you took it there. You have to get the exact formula correct for that roster and that style of play to work. And when it does work, and I should have said this off the bat, when James Harden's making shots, I don't mind watching it so much. It's the nights like Oklahoma City where he's not making shots and they're still just doing it and doing it and doing it that it becomes hard for me to watch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I did have a theory about this offense that I wanted to pose to you really quickly.
Yeah.
Really quickly. What I've always thought with NBA offenses is you run these actions, quick hits, screens, this and that, to get the ball in your best player's hand.
Where he wants it.
In the best position to score.
And then you let him go.
If James Harden's the best scorer in a generation,
I hear you.
And he can score on anybody,
I hear you.
Then maybe Dantoni just broke the NBA. Maybe he's just like, you know what? I revolutionized it.
He did.
Like back in the day.
Listen.
And now again, I'm realizing, hey, I don't got to run. Look, you talk about boring. The most boring offense ever was the triangle offense, and that produced two of the best scorers in NBA history. Maybe Mike D has something here.
No, Mike D definitely has. I'm telling you, Mike D'Antoni is really, really, really gifted in terms of offensive. When he's looked at that,
he comes up with something. He's like a mad scientist.
He can do it like that. So if he said to you, "Hey man, this is what we're gonna do," then it's because he realizes, look, this is like analytically and in terms of, because that's what I'm going to do anyway, right? Like I'm going to move it, I'm going to get to James, and James is going to do his thing regardless, and he does it better than anybody on the planet. So why even go through the damn, like the formality of running any stupid action just to get him the ball back? Let's just ISO him. That's fine. I don't like watching it.
I do like watching it. So this is where we're going to
always
agree to disagree on this one.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.